Over the Pacific Ocean, halfway between Hawaii and Guam, my fuel gauge was dropping faster than I'd ever seen. A critical leak. Thousands of miles of water below me. No runway in sight. No way out. At that moment, survival wasn't guaranteed. I had a wingman backing me up and a tanker overhead, feeding me just enough fuel to keep the engine alive. And then, out of all places, Wake Island, a tiny strip of land in the middle of the ocean, became my only lifeline. That day reminded me of something every fighter pilot knows. No matter how experienced you are, there will always be a moment when your life hangs by a thread. Wake Island saved me once, but that's just one chapter in a life lived inside a cockpit. This right here is what I call my office. It doesn't have a desk or a swivel chair. It has a glass canopy, a stick between my knees, and the roar of 29,000 pounds of afterburning thrust. It's the F-16 Fighting Falcon, though, to us. It's always been the Viper. The F-16 first flew in 1974 and entered service 4 years later. Since then, over 4,600 have been built flying in more than 25 air forces around the world. Why is it called the Viper? Because it's small, sleek, and deadly, just like a coiled snake. It can hit twice the speed of sound. It turns tighter than anything its size has a right to, and its fly-by-wire controls and heads-up display were revolutionary, giving pilots precision control while never taking our eyes off the fight. What makes the Viper fear is what it carries. A 28mm M61 Vulcan cannon, 6 barrels spitting 6,000 rounds a minute. In a close-in dogfight, this is the last word. Air-to-air missiles, AIM-9 sidewinders for knife fights in the sky, AEM-120 AMRAAMs for beyond visual range kills, air-to-ground weapons, Mavericks to bust tanks, harm missiles to silence enemy radars, JDAM and paveway smart bombs for pinpoint strikes, and in NATO service, even the B-61 nuclear bomb. All told, an F-16 can haul nearly 17,000 pounds of weapons and fuel, one jet, able to flip from air superiority to ground attack in a heartbeat. But none of that matters without the person strapped into the seat. Inside here, nothing is guaranteed. No pause button, no reset. Every mission is a test of muscle, of mind, and of decision-making. In the Air Force, we call it BFM, Basic Fighter Maneuvers. To the outside world, it's dogfighting. To us, it's the art of survival. Today, we're running a 9K setup. That means we start 2 miles apart. One pilot goes offensive, the other defends. If you're offensive, it's chess at 500 knots. Smooth, precise, calculated. But if you're defensive, it's chaos. You're bleeding speed, pulling G's, fighting with every ounce of your body just to stay alive. It's like fighting with a knife inside a foam knife. No whip, no escape, just instinct and grit. In a simulator, you pull back on the stick and the screen tilts. In the real world, you feel 7 times your body weight slamming you into the seat. Your vision tunnels. Blood drains from your brain. You fight just to stay conscious while still tracking the bandit on your canopy rail. Lose sight for 1 second. And you might lose everything. This is where fatigue hits instantly, especially when you're defending, heart pounding, breath heavy, brain racing. But panic is death. That's when we fall back on what every fighter pilot is taught. Assay, assess, choose, execute. You size up the fight. You pick the best move, and you commit fast. Not choosing is the worst choice of all. This is why I love and respect this life. It's not just about speed or the thunder of afterburner. It's about clarity under pressure. It's about training until instinct takes over. It's about knowing that one day, the skills you practice in this office might be the difference between coming home or not. And right now, the fight is just beginning. The setup is simple. 2 miles apart, one jet turns hot, one defends. But what looks simple on paper turns brutal in the sky. The instant the call goes, fight's on. The G's slam down, 6, 7 times my body weight. My heart rate spikes. My breath grows heavy against the mask. The world outside tilts into a blur of blue sky and gray earth. This isn't a simulator. This is real. At 7 Gs, my 150-pound body now weighs over 1,000 pounds. My vision tunnels. My neck feels like it's snapping. Every muscle screams just to keep blood in my brain so I don't black out. And through it all, I have to keep the bandit in sight, lose him for 1 second. And the next sound I hear could be missile launch. People ask me what it's like compared to video games. In a game, you twist a joystick. In real life, you twist your entire body. You crane your neck, press your helmet against the canopy, contort yourself just to keep tally on the enemy. You're not just flying the jet, you're fighting your own body, wrestling gravity, and thinking 3 moves ahead at the same time. In these fights, the first weapon is always your positioning angles, closure, geometry. But when it comes time to shoot, here's what we bring to the table. Up close, the M61 Vulcan cannon, 6 barrels spitting out 6,000 rounds a minute. At 1,000 feet, it looks like a laser beam of tracers. Miss, and you get nothing. Hit, and the fight is over in an instant. For range, the AIM-9 Sidewinder, a heat seeker that chases the glow of an enemy's exhaust. Beyond visual range, the AIM-120 AMRAAM fire it, crank away, and let the missile do its work. And when the mission changes, under these wings I could be hauling JDAM smart bombs, AGM-88 harms to kill radars, or even an AGM-158 cruise missile. That's the beauty and the burden of the Viper. 1 jet, a dozen rolls, but in a dogfight, none of that matters. It's you, the jet, and a single adversary locked inside a shrinking circle of sky. The merge is the heartbeat of a fight. 1 second, I'm offensive lining up the perfect shot. The next, he yanks harder, reverses, and now I'm defending. Offense and defense can switch in the blink of an eye. That's why every second counts. That's why hesitation kills. In moments like this, fatigue hits instantly. Your body wants to quit. Your brain wants to panic. But panic is death. This is where we live by the ACE helix. Assess, choose, execute. It's the fighter pilot's way of making decisions under chaos. Assess. Where is he? What angles do I have? What weapons are in play? Choose. Commit to the best option, turn into him. Drag him low. Or bug out. Execute. No second guessing. Just act. Because not choosing is the worst choice of all. Delay 1 second, and you could be gone. He pulls me down toward the floor 1,000 feet.
Altitude
I hear
warning.
the warning blare. Altitude. Altitude. Every instinct screams to pull harder, to claw away from the ground. But I know better. Sometimes survival means discipline, holding just enough G to stay in the fight without stalling out. The circle tightens. My breath rasps through the mask. My gloved hand squeezes the trigger guard. At any second, this could be the kill shot or the end of me.
Copy,
This
I have
isn't
a clear
combat.
visual.
It's
Going
training,
for a high G
but
turn.
we treat it as if it were, because the truth is, the habits you build here are the ones you'll have when it's real. If you lose discipline in training, you'll lose your life in combat. If you panic in training, you'll panic when the missile warning goes off. That's why we grind it out, flight after flight. 10 to 12 hours of mission planning, 3 to 4 hours of briefing, 90 minutes in the jet, 4 hours of debrief, over and over. Because one day, it won't be a fellow Viper in my sights. It'll be an enemy who wants me dead. And when the fight is called, when we both knock it off and level our wings, the adrenaline drains. My chest heaves. My arms ache. My vision clears. That's when it hits me. This was just training. Tomorrow, we'll do it again. But somewhere in the world, another pilot is strapping in different flag, different cause. One day, if our paths cross, everything I've learned here, every drop of sweat, every G-induced grunt, will decide whether I make it home. This is the life of a fighter pilot. It's not Top Gun glamour. It's not a video game. It's blood pounding in your temples at 7 Gs. It's split-second decisions that mean life or death. It's learning to think clearly in chaos, because hesitation is fatal. And in the end, you don't fight for glory. You fight for survival, for your wingman, and for the chance to land back at home. Here's the truth. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And today, I was about to lose. Across the circle was one of our most seasoned test pilots, an aviator, who's flown this jet longer than I've been wearing the patch. And the thing about guys like that, they don't miss. I pull, I jink, I unload. He matches me, move for move. Every defensive break, he's there. Every attempt to drag him low, he cuts me off. It's like playing chess against a grandmaster, except the chessboard is a sky spinning at 500 knots. And every mistake costs your life. Finally, he slides into perfect position, right on my 6. If this were war, I'd already be a fireball. The call comes over the radio. Knock it off. Terminate.
Knock it off, terminate.
And I know what it means. I was beaten, outflown, outmaneuvered, locked down in every turn. For a moment, frustration hits. Nobody likes losing. But then clarity sets in. This is exactly the kind of training we want. To be humbled, to be pushed past our limits. By the best, defensive BFM is a special kind of torture. There is no break, no pause, from the first merge until the call to terminate. You are reacting, defending, clawing for survival. The G's don't let up. 6, 7, almost 8 times my body weight. My arms feel like lead. My legs burn from squeezing blood into my brain. My lungs fight for every breath. And through all of it, my mind is running calculations, closure rates, turn circles, options to escape. Fail once, and you're done. That's the reality. In The Art of Clear Thinking, Hazard Lee calls it mental toughness, the ability to make decisions when everything inside you is screaming to quit. That's what defensive dogfighting teaches you. Assess. Where is he? How much energy do I have left? Choose. Risk a break turn. Drag him into the floor. Or hold steady. Execute. No hesitation. No second guessing. Even in defeat, you learn. You build the muscle memory, not just of flying, but of deciding under pressure, because combat isn't forgiving. There are no restarts, no second rounds, only survival or not. Walking away from a fight like that, drenched in sweat, chest heaving, I feel it in every muscle. But I also feel gratitude, because losing here means living later. Being outclassed by a master in training teaches you humility, and humility is what keeps you alive when it's real. Out here, failure isn't shame. It's the tuition you pay to keep learning. I didn't win that fight, not even close. But I carried something more valuable back to the debrief: resilience. Because in the end, that's what this job demands, not perfection, not invincibility, but the toughness to take the hits, absorb the lessons, and strap in again tomorrow. Most people head into an office from 9 to 5. They sit at a desk, in front of a computer, answering emails and solving problems. Me. My office is here in F-16 cockpit, 30,000 feet above the Earth. My problems scream at Mach 2 and pull 7 times my body weight. A 90-minute flight. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Behind it, 10 to 12 hours of mission planning the day before, 3 to 4 hours of briefing. And after landing,
you can see the
another 4 hours
right
of
here.
debrief, every move, every mistake, every radio call dissected frame by frame. Flying fighters isn't just strapping in and having fun. It's a full-time job and a half, built on sweat, detail, and discipline. In here, nothing is a game. Out there, one small mistake can cost your life or the lives of your wingmen. That's why we train until
Combat is not
exhaustion.
about luck.
That's why
It's
we
about
embrace defeat
preparation
in
and
practice. Because survival in combat isn't about luck. It's about preparation, teamwork, and the ability to stay clear-headed when the world is spinning around you. In the cockpit of an F-16, survival comes down to discipline, skill, and clear thinking in every single second. That's why we fight this hard in training. Because when the real fight comes, there won't be time to learn. There will only be time to act.